Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Craig Johnson. I am the Director of Orientation Programs at Purdue University, and thanks for joining us in our 8th Virtual Star Live session of 2021. There are a lot of things that I would like to share with you tonight about myself specifically, but I'm going to share just a few of them first, then make some brief announcements, and then we'll get started with today's session on mental health and wellness. So as I said before, my name is Craig Johnson. I'm Director of Orientation Programs. My role here at Purdue is to oversee the V-STAR process and Boiler Gold Rush and Boiler Gold Rush International. We hope you're registering for that program in August as well. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I have worked at Purdue just for almost 6 years, which is crazy to think about for me personally. Well, my first announcement tonight is that we are in the final week of V-STAR, and thanks to more than over 10,000 students that have completed V-STAR already. I am not lying to you. It's over 10,000 students have completed V-STAR already. There are still quite a few who have not. So as a reminder, if you haven't yet finished V-STAR, your time is coming close, just 6 days away. So make sure you complete those modules in V-STAR. That's in Brightspace. The sooner that you meet and connect with your V-STAR courses and finish that, complete the student information form, you'll meet with your academic advisor to set up your next semester of classes. If you haven't already, my second announcement of the night is to follow us on our social media accounts at All Aboard Purdue on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok too. If you have the TikTok account, lots of fun dancing and moving around on that social media account. We have over 6,000 followers on Instagram. That's where we're sending a lot of information, and it's going to be very active here for the next few months. One final announcement before we get started is that we are almost to the month of July, which is really hard to believe, but I wanted to share just 2 important dates that you should take note of as we turn the calendar to the next month. The first is that pre-arrival homework will begin and launch in Brightspace on July 12th. And so just a week after the 4th of July holiday. And then finally, if you haven't, I said it before, I'll say it again, if you haven't registered for Boiler Gold Rush, we encourage you to do so. BGR is a week full of social and academic programs that will help to serve you as an incoming student and welcome you to campus. Right now, we have over 6,600 students that have already signed up for BGR, and there's still a month to go in registration. So July 31st is the deadline for BGR registration. We hope that you can join us there this August. Well, tonight, this evening's session will focus on mental health and wellness of our students. And we have a few experts in the room tonight to join us as well. So at this time, I'd like to kick it off and pass it over to our moderator for tonight's session, Stephen Yeagley, to learn about him, his role, and to get things started with our panel. So Stephen, you can take it away.
Thank you, Craig. I am so grateful to be a part of this session. Mental health and wellness is something that my team and I work regularly with. I serve as the Associate Dean of Students for Crisis Management within the Dean of Students office. I work really closely on a daily, weekly basis with the other folks on this panel. I've been at Purdue for a little longer than 6 years, so got here right before Craig. But we will get started. I'm going to hand it to Will to do an introduction, and then Will, you get to choose who introduces himself after you.
All right, thanks. Well, hello everyone. My name is Will Evans. I serve as the Senior Assistant Director of Wellness Programs on campus. We are housed in Recreation and Wellness. You'll get to know that very well if you are an avid gym goer, because that is truly what Recreation and Wellness is. We house our giant 5-story gym on campus, and it is a pleasure to work with everyone on this talk tonight, and I'm looking forward to answering some questions. And I will let Julie go next with introductions.
Thanks, Will. It's a pleasure to spend time with you all. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this. My name is Julie Cox. I'm also an Associate Dean of Students, and I oversee what's called Student Support Specialist. I've been here at Purdue for 14 years. I've worked in higher ed for 28 years. And I'm also a Purdue parent. So I have a son who's starting his junior year here. So I will turn things over to Kyle.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Kyle Kittleson. I am currently the Interim Director of Counseling and Psychological Services here at Purdue. I have been with Purdue for a little over 4 years, and I am really happy to be part of this. And mental health and wellness are really just a really focus of what I want to do and help students be supported and understand. So I'm looking forward to sharing some of what we have to offer through counseling and psychological services here at Purdue. And you'll often hear me refer to it as CAPS. So we refer to our office as CAPS here on campus. So welcome.
Thank you to each of you again for being here, for being such great partners and advocates for our students in this area. One of the things I know that I value a lot at Purdue, as each of my colleagues do, is that while we're here discussing this, there's a variety of resources across campus, and you're going to find at Purdue that even if it doesn't seem to be a wellness resource, Purdue has really taken the approach of wellness being a part of everybody's responsibility. So to get started, to lay out the landscape a little bit of wellness resources that exist here on campus, I'd like to start with Will. Will, could you talk about what wellness resources exist on campus and what support or coaching for general wellness exist?
Absolutely, yeah. So in our office, we have several different modalities or ways that we try to get people more involved with their wellness. We truly believe that it is holistic. So it's not just one particular component. It's not just a healthy diet. It's not just getting exercise and physical activity. It's not just dealing with stress. So on campus, within RecWell, our department here, some services that you can take advantage of coaching-wise include several different coaching staffing groups. And what's neat about these groups is that you have the option to either see a professional staff member, such as myself or someone else in our office, or you can choose to see a student peer. If you're a student coming to Purdue, we have different teams of student coaches. The first is wellness coaching, and we kind of think of them as they are in charge of making sure that you reach those New Year's resolutions, is the easiest way to say it. We all set them every year, and then by the end of January, we kind of just let them fall away. Wellness coaches really try to hone in on your values and strengths and make sure that you're going to achieve whatever well-being or health aspect that you want to achieve in your life, whether that is exercise, that is nutrition, or perhaps it's something different like time management or stress coping, things like that. We also have a team of nutrition coaches, which is overseen by our registered dietitian here on campus. You can go to them and just get general nutrition advice or knowledge. There's so many myths out there about nutrition, like, I don't know, like, are eggs good for you or are eggs not good for you? The internet never knows. Like, they can tell you, right? Like, you don't have to second guess. Just come to us. We are happy to help. And then also, interestingly, you may not immediately think about this topic in relation to wellness, but we have a team of financial literacy education coaches, because finances can be a major source of stress in college. So if you want to hone in on your financial wellness, get better at budgeting, get better at saving, understand loans and credit and debit better, we can actually, we have a team that can help accommodate that. All the services that I just mentioned are absolutely free, so you can come to RecWell anytime. And we're a great place to begin your wellness journey. And if we realize that, hey, you know what, maybe Kyle and his team, they can really help you out too, or perhaps Julie and her team, or whomever, we're happy to make a referral to different wellness resources on campus. We know everyone pretty well, and we're happy to get you connected. So that's what is going on in RecWell. Some other ancillary things that can help with your wellness, again, because we believe it's holistic, is like the Center for Career Opportunities for your occupational wellness on campus, right? So you can go there and learn more about resume building or jobs on campus, things like that. But we are a great kind of starting point to launch into your own journey for health and well-being.
Will, I appreciate you taking the time to highlight the holistic view of wellness. I know often in speaking with students, there's this idea that when they hear mental wellness or wellness, they're only thinking of CAPS, for example, that it's purely counseling, and it's much broader than that. Kyle, a question about it, and Julie may also add on to this. There are a lot of conversations we have. I know Julie's going to talk about student of concern reports a little bit later. Much of it comes around the impact that stress is having on students, and it leads to different behaviors. It leads to different coping mechanisms. What techniques would you advise, or that you've seen successful for students to use when it comes to managing stress at a place like Purdue, where it's very academically focused?
Sure. I think developing habits around managing stress early on can be really helpful in thinking about how do I want to manage my time, and making sure that when you're looking at the time, it's not all focused on work all the time, and really taking time to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, connecting with other people. I think one of the big things that we can do to kind of help manage our stress is our connections with other people. So making sure that we are getting involved in other things that we enjoy on campus. And there's lots and lots of student organizations and student groups, and I think those can be really helpful in managing the stress. And I also, at times we can get to a place where we're like, we need something else. So you can also call CAPS and call us. And we have lots of different ways that we can support students in managing stress, whether that's through our brief individual therapy. We have workshops specifically around anxiety and stress. One of the tools that we have available for all students on campus is WellTrack, which is an app that you can download on a mobile device or access through the internet. And there's modules on there where you can learn about how to manage anxiety, how to manage stress. They're adding some new ones about mindfulness, which can be really great in helping manage stress and being mindful and taking some time in our day to really focus in and just kind of accept where we are in the world. And so I think coming in and thinking about what supports you might need and connecting with other people, I really emphasize that with students about making sure you're finding connections. And if that's, if you're finding that that's something that is struggling, we are also here to provide some support to help make that happen for folks. So I don't know if I have anything else to add right now, but.
So what I would add is oftentimes students will come to our office, and so we don't even require students to make appointments. We are here between 8 and 5, and students, we call it drop in. And I think students will often come in pretty stressed, and I ask what I call the mom questions, like, when was the last time you've eaten? Have you slept? How many cups of coffee have you had? When was the last time you thought about something besides your coursework? And a lot of times, the reality is students haven't necessarily slept well, or have been burning the candle on both ends. And so oftentimes we'll give just kind of the good sound advice of, you need to practice some self-care. And that, because no one copes well when they're tired, when they're hungry, and when they're overwhelmed. I mean, I don't care if you're 50 or if you're 3, no one does well. So a lot of times our students just kind of need that reminder. So I would say for the parents in the audience or family members, if you get that call and your student just seems really overwhelmed or stressed, ask those really basic self-care questions, because sometimes that can help. The other thing is I think, normalizing that some stress is normal here. I mean, we are an academically rigorous institution, and, students are pushed, and there are a lot of super bright students here. So knowing and kind of expecting that and being ready for that, and remembering what worked last year when you were stressed? What worked 2 years ago when you were stressed? And kind of remembering to use those tools, whether that's I need to go on a walk, or I need to stop looking at my phone, or I need to call a friend, or I need to practice yoga, or whatever it is. Just kind of remembering that you've done this before, you can do hard things, and not to think that because you're at a different environment in the university setting, that may not still apply for you. You all have gotten in, and that means you are super talented and gifted and deserve to be here and are ready to be here. But I think students sometimes get here and it can feel a little overwhelming, and it's a big transition. It is for everyone. Every sophomore, junior, senior, graduate student has walked in your shoes as well. So just know that feeling some stress is pretty normal, and kind of remembering to use those tools that you've already developed to get this far.
So at this point, I mean, Will, Julie, Kyle, you have all mentioned different resources, different ways to connect. Will mentioned, you could be connected with professionals, you could be connected with students. Kyle shared, you can reach out to us if things just aren't clicking. Julie, you mentioned drop-ins. It's a lot of information. It feels a bit overwhelming. How does a student go about connecting with you all, and what should they expect? And I ask this as I just met with a student yesterday who said, CAPS, I've heard that I should reach out to you specifically from CAPS. I've heard that I should reach out to you for my advisor. Like, I have heard your name throughout the year. Now that I finally connected, glad that I did, but I didn't feel like I had the energy or the time. Kyle mentioned, taking time aside from the work. So to those students that have either already experienced this or they find themselves at a point, what is that first step to connect, and when should that step be taken? And that's a question to all of you in your different roles that you have.
I can start because sometimes people, I think, two things. One, to clarify kind of what the Dean of Students Office does, because oftentimes in the K through 12 setting, the dean is the disciplinarian. So people hear the word Dean of Students and they think, like, I'm not going to that person for help. And in the university setting, it's very, very different. So I will often translate, like, we in this space are kind of like a hybrid of your guidance counselor meets your favorite coach, meets just a person in your corner to help you be successful here. And students land in our office a lot of different ways. As Stephen mentioned, people often refer students to us because we kind of like to be the first stop shop, so that if you have questions, this place is big and it's complicated and there's a lot of acronyms, and it can be really confusing. Even for, parents that went here or had older siblings that have gone to college, this is a big place to navigate. So in terms of how you would land here, once again, we're on the second floor of Schliemann. Students can just walk in. Students are welcome to call. They're welcome to go to the Dean of Students website and make an appointment, or just look at our services that we provide. So it really depends on what the student's comfort level is as to how they might land here. But truly, we will often tell people, if you're not sure where to go, start with us, and we're going to do our best not to send you to a different office, but rather problem solve with you or try to get the answer with you. The other good resource that I would be, it would be bad not to mention, is if you're living in the residence halls, the residential life staff are a great first point of contact as well. So every floor has an RA. Every residence hall has a professional staff member, a master's level staff member that is there to help students get connected with regards to all things, but definitely mental health and wellness. And they live with students. And they understand the student experience. RAs are students. So just to throw in a pitch for our friends in Res Life, they live with students, are oftentimes the front line in terms of getting students connected to resources.
Ooh. I'll say for wellness, I'll answer first with when should you get connected. This may sound like an unsatisfactory vague answer. Is whenever you want to. You do not have to. We're not here to necessarily. You don't come to us only when you need something fixed. You come to us if you're doing good, and even if you want to get better. Like, 'cause this is your wellness journey. We're here to, like, if you are happy and you can run, a 10K and you're a marathon runner, but you still want to get better, man, we're here for you. We're gonna really make sure that you can keep reaching whatever goal you have. As far as how to get connected, if you're in Recwell, maybe you're already here for a workout in the morning or another activity, feel free to walk into the wellness suite. We'll be happy to answer any questions right away. You can request kind of a welcome packet on our website. So if you want to know more before you reach out and connect, you can request that and we'll send it to you electronically, and you can read more about our services here. Or you can call our front desk number and just say, hey, I really want to know more about this registered dietitian, or I want to know more about what a wellness coach does. And you'll be connected with us right away, right? So as far as how to get connected, it's really whatever your comfort level is. If you don't want to walk in and meet with us face to face, that's totally fine. Just give us a call. We can do this completely electronically if you would like. But that's kind of when and how to connect with us. And we kind of played Zoom tag, so I'll let Kyle go now.
Thanks, Will. So I'm going to answer the question of when first as well. And I usually think about it if somebody's thinking about, I might want to talk to a mental health professional, that's the time to call us. If you're thinking like, I might want to talk to somebody, then call us and see. And the best way to connect with us is typically calling, that works, or stopping in our office. Our office is on the second floor of the Purdue University Student Health Building. And we have counselors available all day long for crisis and emergency. And so if you are experiencing some kind of a crisis, then you can speak to somebody right away. Otherwise, we make an appointment with a therapist for either the same day or the next day, which would be a brief kind of appointment that you would have with that person to kind of assess what you might need from a mental health perspective. And then we'll take that time to kind of connect you with either the services at CAPS that will be most appropriate, or help you maybe connect with some of these other offices that are here tonight, or other offices that are on campus, or resources. We really can be a place to help connect, and also a place that provides the service ourselves too. So just to kind of, like, the best way I think to either call us or stop in, either way, we are there all day. And we also have our phone line is available 24 hours a day. And if there's a crisis or emergency, you can always press 1 and speak to a counselor right away. So we do have that available too, 24 hours a day, weekends and holidays as well.
Well, I'll say from working with students that are sometimes anxious about stepping into an office they haven't stepped into before, or meeting somebody they haven't met, or maybe they're dealing with a problem that they haven't spoken out loud, right? It's just something that's kind of been in their mind. Each of y'all's services, strong web presence, CAPS, I mean, I feel like y'all are adding to it. Every time I go to it, there's something new. So if you're somebody that's more comfortable, trying to familiarize yourself, or you're doing things outside of the typical hour, I mean, CAPS website has been phenomenal. And I know Kyle mentioned WellTrack at the beginning, and I'll give it another plug. Students have found a lot of great success in that from the students that I've worked with that they've talked about. Will, I know we refer a lot of students your way for success coaching, that New Year's resolution type coaching that you mentioned earlier. And Kyle mentioned the importance of finding time to do things that aren't directly related to homework and classes. Do you have any tangible practices, like a few tips that you'd be willing to give us regarding that that people could jot down and try to put into practice when they get here?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm going to echo Kyle's first one, which is just make connection, right? And so I know that's terrifying, especially if you don't know anyone here, but really kind of push yourself when you first get here to go to whatever hall event you might be experiencing or what's going on campus, or go to that event. Make some connections, and they will organically happen too, right? Like you'll just be like, hey, you take really great notes in class and you look like the person I want to study with. So let's do that, So the first one is just like make some connections here so that you have kind of a support group on campus, which is great. That network is really important. But then second, I think getting past like the hustle and hurry culture that can consume campus life, right? You get here and you want to do everything all at once, right? And you have 4 long years to do everything, right? And they're going to be great years, right? And I say long years to emphasize that you don't have to get it all done within like the first semester, right? Because we have students come to our office, and one of the funniest thing that happens is we have clients come in and they say, I want more time to do X, whatever it is, right? I just don't have time in my day. I'm like, all right, well, tell us about your day. Well, I go to class and I'm taking like 18 credit hours, and I'm also on the leadership board of like 5 organizations, and I'm volunteering, and I have a part-time job, and then I'm teaching in this thing, and I'm like, you have no idea why you don't have time? And they look at me and they're like, no, I have no idea why. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't work that much, that's crazy. So I would think one of the first things is just, and it sounds crazy, but it takes some skill, is give yourself the emotional permission to just rest and be, right? And one of the cool things that we have here at Recwell to help you do that is a space called the Mindfulness Room. So I said that we're like the gym on campus, and that's true. If you do not like working out's not your cup of tea, we also have you covered here, right? You can come and sit in a room that has meditation bolsters and aromatherapy and a light therapy box and a sound machine, and just zen out and be with your own self, and that's relax and kind of escape that kind of hustle and hurry, right? So I would say don't feel pressured to always do, and it's okay just to be and rest. And rest just doesn't mean sleep. It could just mean intentionally doing activities that restore you, right? And so it's not just always when you feel tired, not immediately thinking, well, I'm gonna take a nap right now, right? Naps are great. I'm not against naps, but it could be like what Julie said, what would actually make me feel really recharged is just going for a walk. Or maybe I need to find that friend, and I'm just going to enjoy coffee without studying, and that's what I'm going to do to recharge, right? I think that is one of the things that we talk most about with clients here, is just that it's okay to not always be going at 100%.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Will. So we've talked about staff, we've talked about resources. Both Will and Kyle now have mentioned the importance of making connections with peers, with friends. So I've got a question that I'm going to start with Kyle, and then hope that Julie can tag in on afterwards. The question being, you've connected with friends, you've got those relationships, but your friend is struggling. And I know we've seen that, we've always seen that, but this last year in particular was really difficult, that you were trying to help your friend who was struggling, while you may have also been struggling with feeling isolated or overwhelmed or burnout. So question for you, Kyle, because I know I've witnessed students try to find this balance between supporting their friends that are struggling with mental health, while also being able to take care of themselves and know when to, I need to pass this off. I need to connect them with a resource on campus. So a question for you, Kyle. What are some ways that students can support their friends, their classmates, their roommates? And at what point is it appropriate to tap in some help for that person?
Sure. Yeah, that can be really challenging to be a friend and you see your friend struggling. And I think it's really important to, make space and make time to talk to that person, to listen and really understand what's happening and do that in a way that is caring, and you want to care about your friend. And I think sometimes you can come to a point where you realize, like, I'm listening, I'm trying to help. I really want to be there for my friend, and I'm really trying to help them. And that's good. That's what we do with our friends. And I think at some point, you're asking the question, kind of, how do I balance this out if I think my friend might need something more than what I'm able to provide for them? And where do I know that? And then what do I do about that? I think it would be different for each person when you would know, like when you would feel like I need some help. And Julie mentioned earlier talking to RAs. I think if you're in the residence halls, you can certainly talk to RAs as well. They can be a great support. And if your friend is really having some mental health struggles and you really want to get them connected, or you feel like I'm not in a space because this is taking a lot of energy and it's taxing me in a way that is preventing me from being able to get what I need to get done or being able to enjoy my life in the way that I want to. And this person is also struggling and I want to be helpful to them. What can I do? So I would say you can always call us at CAPS and let us know this is what's happening. And we might be able to sit with you, talk with you about what you might need to. I have found a really good strategy too, is encouraging your friend, if your friend is struggling, to have them connect with us. And that can be a difficult conversation to have, and doing it from a place of care and letting them know that I really care about you. I want to be able to help you, even offering to maybe be on the phone call when they call, or walk with them over to our office. That can be really helpful if they know that they have support. Or going to some other offices too. And I know Julie can probably talk about what her office can offer in that way too. I guess I want to emphasize, if you feel like this is like kind of out of my league, this is something I feel like a professional, I need some professional help here. Asking us how to get that help can be helpful, and us talking to, the supportive friend one-on-one and the friend who needs support, helping them get connected with us. I think both those things are really important. And we are available for all of that to help kind of navigate those places. But I think for each person, it will be different about when you feel you've reached the limit. And I think one of the things you could kind of use as like a gauge of like, well, I've been supporting my friend now for, 3-4 days a week. I've been engaging in this, having these conversations, and things don't seem to be getting better for my friend. That might be a time when you say like, okay, I need to call, or I need to help them connect with somebody else that can be helpful in a different way. And I think it can be hard. And I admire how much our students do support each other on this campus. So I think that helping them connect with what they might need is really admirable.
Yeah, the two things that I would add to that, we also very much function like CAPS does in terms of, if you're unsure and you just want to talk it through, reach out to us and we'll meet in person. We can connect via Zoom. We can talk on the phone and really just ask some good questions and try to assess what's going on. Because, some of it depends on how well you know the person, how long you've known the person, and kind of what the severity is of what's going on. If someone breaks up with a relationship back home and is just having a hard time and they're feeling sad, that's different than someone who just stops going to class, or maybe starts turning to alcohol too often, or is really, not engaging at all with normal social connections. So knowing that there's a spectrum of struggle, we definitely encourage students to come in. And similarly to what Kyle mentioned, we are here to support the student who's struggling, and we're here to support the friend. we're here to support the roommate or the classmate as well, because that's a lot to take on oftentimes when you're trying to be helpful and caring, but yet you also have to practice your own self-care. The other tool that we talk about all over campus is what's called our Student of Concern report. And that's open to faculty, staff, students, parents, families, community members, whoever might experience or be concerned about a student. We encourage you to go online, fill out this form. It comes to, so Stephen and I are actually in the same hallway, so it comes to both of our offices. And what will happen then is we read those and we will do outreach to the student who is identified as the student of concern. We make it very clear they're not in trouble, that we simply have been made aware because someone cares about them, right? Someone's concerned about them, and we want to be on their team to help be supportive of them and help them to be successful. So we will reach out and offer assistance, offer to meet with the person, and also if it's a student that reports, we reach out to that student as well, once again, to see if we can support them. And that can be everything from, gosh, you know, a friend from high school that came here just doesn't seem to be doing well, or someone's talked about clinical depression, or someone's worried that they're academically not going to be successful, or someone feels like they may not quite belong here. You know, maybe this place feels really big for them. So really, it doesn't have to be super serious. It's just if you're concerned enough to be thinking about it and it's on your mind, or maybe you're losing sleep, like, gosh, you know, I really just wish someone, especially students, you know, who hopefully, you know, professional staff have more qualifications than you do, to simply reach out and be supportive. The other part that I always tell students, because sometimes students are worried that like their friends will feel like that they've like ratted them out or they're narking on them. And so you don't have to tell us who you are. We don't naturally share the identity of the person, but oftentimes, especially if you know intimate details of whatever's going on, a lot of times students may be able to figure that out, but maybe not. I mean, we've had students in Greek life that are just worried about a housemate. And so we just say, you know what, another Boilermaker cares about you enough to let us know. And we encourage students to be really upfront and really honest. Once again, we're not conduct. We're simply here to be helpful, kind human beings, to say, we understand this is hard. How can we help you? What's going on? You know, is there anything that we can do to either support you one-on-one or to get you to a place that feels supportive?
I would like to add one thing in addition to all the great things that Julie talked about. We are also, I mentioned this earlier, we are also available if there is a immediate crisis. So if you are supporting a friend who is in immediate crisis where you feel they're in danger of hurting themselves, then please call us right away. And you can always call us right away or walk over right away. So I just want to put that out there too. And that's available, like I said earlier, 24 hours a day. For crisis situations. That's important, I think, for all students to know that there is a place to call and there is a place to go.
The other thing, I feel like we're playing ping pong, Kyle, sorry, but I feel like it's important to mention, you know, Purdue is a small city. And one of the benefits of being a small city is we have our own police department and we have our own fire department. And one of the things that I know, maybe you're not 100% sure that your student is in crisis, but like you just would like someone to have eyes on them, to know that they're okay, because maybe your kid called you crying and you're worried and you just want a grown-up to go in and do what we call well-being check. PUPD officers do that. And they have additional training. They're called CIT officers, where they're trained in crisis intervention and issues of mental health, or, you know, how to manage emotions. So if it's Christmas Eve even, I mean, they are here 24/7 and can go and do well-being checks on your students at any given point. So now this isn't if they overslept for class. This isn't, you know, just because like you texted them and they didn't text you back and it's only 20 minutes later. But if you're really worried, they are humans here on campus that will absolutely go ahead and do well-being checks for your students.
That was some good dialogue, Julie and Kyle. Thank you. You were checking off all the boxes I had in mind. So I appreciate you answering some of the questions ahead of time. So I know in a few minutes, we'll turn it back to Craig on the chance that there's been questions from the audience. But we're just now getting ready to enter July. There is still time before classes start for the fall, for summer start, early start, fall classes. What are the conversations? What are the topics in this arena of mental health and wellness? What are the things that you would encourage prior to the beginning of the semester, whether that's a habit to get into, or, you know, I know as I approach the end of each semester and I'm talking with students, we're already making a plan of, we're going to do this in the first couple weeks when you get here. What are those things that you would recommend, those conversations now before the semester gets started? And I'll start with Will, because he's been the quietest the longest.
Yeah, so I would really have some good conversations about prioritizing kind of health and wellness, because I think for the longest time, especially if maybe your student played sports or something, it was up to other people were involved in your students' health and wellness. And now they're coming here and they are almost fully in charge of their health and wellness, right? And so one of the things that we also commonly say is there's a difference between scheduling your healthy habit around your day or scheduling your day around your healthy habit, right? So if your day is scheduled around the healthy habit, then chances of the healthy habit happening are 100%. If your healthy habit is scheduled around your day, the chances of it falling through the cracks is exponential, right? So it may sound like a really simple and kind of dumbed down skill, but actually putting in your planner from 1:30 to 2:30, I will do this. And that is unmovable. It's not going to change. This is when this is going to happen. Because it's so easy to fill up that time with other things. And then you quickly realize I don't have time for my mental health and well-being, right? Because my calendar is already full. So really just kind of being that self-advocate and realizing kind of your own strengths and your weaknesses to say, I do need to pencil this in or I will forget and I will overcommit myself to things like that. Also, just like Julie said, we're a small city here. And so it would be very advantageous to begin browsing through some of the services and kind of checking through which ones do I want to reach out first to and get connected with, right? And so like with any small city, we try our very, very hardest. I want you to hear me say that. We try so hard to be available when you need us, where you need us. But like I mentioned, a registered dietitian, right? And if you want to see her tomorrow, she may be booked out for a month, right? So like really making sure that, all right, these are things that I really want to take advantage of. When I get to campus, I need to reach out to these people and make sure and figure out how to get connected with them, right? Because you may quickly find that halfway into the semester, we're still available. We just may not be as quickly available as you may want. So kind of making that pre-arrival checklist of, these are the services I know that I want to explore more, and start doing that when you get here.
The other thing that I think would be important to think about now as you prepare, and I think it's important to honor the fact that we're coming off a really odd year, or a year and a half with COVID. And as Will mentioned, whether your student was involved in band or athletics or robotics or whatever their extracurriculars may have been, high school is very scheduled. I mean, if you think about it, a bell tells students when to go from class to class to class to class. And here, your student is going to have a ton of freedom. And I think allowing them to practice that now. So for students, it's engaging in figuring out, waking yourself up and doing your own laundry and figuring out how to manage your time. And for parents, which is hard, but it's an important skill. It's letting go a little bit now so that your student really can practice that whole self-advocacy, self-care. And as much as it's super hard not to think, oh, I have all these things that I need to tell my student before they get to college, allow them to start making some decisions, allow them some freedom to allow them to maybe make mistakes while they're safe at home, so that when they get here, when students get here, you're a little more practice in how to be more independent. I mean, we've all been very much quarantined at home, for a really long time. So even things like band or athletics may have looked really different this year. And on one hand, that was a beautiful gift in terms of people wanting to spend more time together. But on the other hand, I was so grateful. For our town, the seniors actually got to have a graduation, because last year they didn't. So as we start to figure out what our new normal looks like now, encouraging students to practice both self-care and independence and decision-making so that people feel ready and it's not quite as strong of a transition going from home to here.
I think I would kind of reiterate what folks are saying and thinking about those healthy habits around nutrition and sleep and exercise and all of those things. And I've been thinking a lot about this re-entry or coming out of like this pandemic, and what is that going to mean? And so we at CAPS are really thinking about that, what it's going to mean for students as we return to campus. And so we're developing some workshops around that. So, and dealing with some of the anxiety that might be associated with that. And I think thinking about those things now and what you think might be helpful as you come to campus, which is different than coming to campus in another year. So what that might look like and what you might need, and thinking about that. And that would be different for each person. And thinking about, how am I going to maintain the things that have been working for me, like my eating habits or my exercise habits and my sleeping habits. I feel like sleep can be such an important part of our mental health. If we're not getting enough of it, we're just not operating fully. And I feel like in college, it can be hard to manage that sleep schedule. And so thinking about, and maybe even having discussions with people you might be living with as you come here, and like, how are we going to arrange, our sleep schedules around this? And maybe you're more of a night person, and how do you do that? And how do you manage that with your classes? And I think thinking about that in terms of mental health is really important, because that can just be at the base of what can help you feel more engaged and ready to take on the tasks of college life.
I appreciate each of your responses to every question, but this past one in particular, the only thing I would add, and this echoes back to something Julie said at the beginning of this time together, is that our students are, you're brilliant. I mean, you're brilliant and you're problem solvers. And I almost on a daily basis with a student will say, just because you can get through it alone doesn't mean you have to, right? And so I would encourage you to reach out early, right? When you start to struggle, you don't have to know the solution that you're seeking. You just have to be able to articulate the problem. And Will, Kyle, Julie, their teams are totally equipped to help you determine that solution. We're a big campus, but we work really closely together. We've got a pretty tight, what feels like a safety net. We really try to have a Boilermaker family. So just because you can do it alone, my advice would be you don't have to. We can save some bumps and bruises along the way. And with that, again, thank you, everybody. I'm going to turn it over to Craig to wrap things up.
All right. Well, thank you all, to Stephen, to Julie, to Will, to Kyle, for joining us tonight for the session. I know it was great just to be listening and hearing all of the information shared. I know that there were some questions from the chat that have been answered based on some of the things that you referenced here in this panel and have been shared outward. And there's a comment here in the YouTube chat that just says, Thank you for such comforting answers. It's very comforting to hear this as a parent watching. So thank you to our panelists and moderator tonight for making an impact on this. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation tonight on mental health and wellness, such an important topic to start wrapping your heads around as we transition to campus this summer and fall. Just a couple of quick reminders again, thanks to everybody watching. We have Ed Dunn behind the scenes and a couple of our orientation staff members, Estavian and Virginia, helping answer questions on YouTube as well. As a reminder, less than 1 week away from completing V-STAR. So the sooner you finish, the sooner you can meet with your advisor to schedule those classes. Next week on Tuesday will be our final V-STAR live session, and then we will be back in August for 2 BGR live sessions to talk about the BGR schedule and move-in. Crazy, we're only 6 weeks away from the beginning of August. So next week's session, we'll be talking about living on campus with some friends from university residences and housing. We hope that you will join us then at Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Until next time, thanks for joining us and have a great night.